Kelechi Egwim is an activist and the executive director at Appeal Inc., which is a non-profit black empowerment organization focused on serving communities of people of African descent in the US and abroad. He joins us now from Seabrook in Maryland. Thank you so much for joining us, Kelechi. There's been some disappointment that Derek Chauvin didn't receive the maximum 40-year sentence. So what's your reaction to what the judge has handed down?
It's definitely a disappointment, but it's at least some closure for the family. I mean, we were prepared for him to get even less than the minimum. So for him to be convicted and to get a sentence of the extent that he got is something. It's unfortunate that he'll most likely certainly be out in 15 years, which is even before George Floyd's daughter is an adult. This man will be walking the streets again. He'll be able to retire, get his pension, and live out his life. He may even become a police officer again, knowing the way it works in this country. So it is a disappointment, but we will at least get some closure for the family. Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything for the rest of the country.
Yes, I want to ask you about that because since George Floyd's murder last May, hundreds of other men and women of colour have lost their lives as a result of interactions with police across the country. So it doesn't sound like much has changed since George Floyd's death, has it?
No, it certainly hasn't. If anything, the lines have hardened. This country is going through a sort of a civil war in the sense that you have everybody in their camps. You have people who feel as if they need to defend the police even when they're wrong. And then you have the rest of the citizens who are victimized by them. You have the Congress of the United States that cannot pass a law to even restrict police officers in things like chokeholds and obvious abuse. There's a law that's been sitting in the Senate for I don't know how long now, named after George Floyd. The House passed it, the Senate won't even bring it up because they know they don't have enough votes. So where real change can happen, it's not happening. As a matter of fact, the President of the United States just yesterday, gave a speech where he basically said he was going to increase policing in America as a way of dealing with. I'm not really exactly sure what he's trying to achieve by that. So we're not going in the right direction.
So what sort of changes would you like to see when it comes to policing in the United States? What sort of reforms need to happen?
Well, there are several of them. One thing, in this country, police officers are really not held accountable most of the time, a majority of the time, when they're demonstrated to have violated their oath and broken the law. Even when you have all these, large settlements like the one that the Floyd family got, but many others who don't get that criminal justice, get the civil justice, but the police officers don't pay for that. The city pays for that. So the citizens end up paying the fine for the police when they abuse them. The police officer goes on, if he doesn't continue in that department, he goes somewhere else. There needs to be a change in the law so that a qualified immunity, which prevents police from being prosecuted in a way that they can be held accountable financially, so that when restitution is paid, they're the ones paying it. That needs to change. We need to make sure that police have, at a minimum, the same level of accountability when they break the law as citizens. They have a greater duty than an average citizen walking down the street, yet they have less accountability. So things like getting rid of qualified immunity, things like making sure that you have civilian review boards, things like making sure the police are not being sent out to do jobs that they're ill-equipped to do. Because many of the times police are sent out, they're not really doing anything that requires police officers. They're doing things that oftentimes require counselors or require an emergency for health. But police are being sent out for all these situations, and oftentimes, especially when it comes to black people, it results in the death of an innocent person because the person sent out is ill-equipped to deal with it. So the police unions need to be kept put in check. The Congress needs to do. They have a laundry list of things. We know what needs to be done. The problem is nobody's willing to do it.
Okay. Kelechi Egwim, we will have to leave it there, but we really do appreciate your analysis. Thank you for that.